Okay, we are rolling. Hello and welcome to another video. I'm Gok, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about how you can get the best and the most out of your circular polarizer. If you're new here, it would mean the world to me if you were to hit that subscribe button so we can grow this channel and reach more audiences and bring you new videos every week. I am a photographer and a videographer based just outside of London, and I specialize mainly within the automotive space, which is why I wanted to put this video together. Because whether you're a beginner, a mid-level, or a professional photographer and videographer, especially in the automotive sphere, there's no doubt you would have heard or seen people using one of these. However, in my experience, I only see people use it to half its potential, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about what you might be leaving on the table and help you heighten your photography to the next level. So what is a circular polarizer? Now, I'm not the most technical person, so I'll keep this brief. The best way I can describe it is witchcraft. Okay, it's a circular filter that you add to the end of your camera lens. This is what it looks like. You add it to the end of your lens, and by simply turning the filter, you can cut the glare and the reflections out of your windscreen on the car that you're taking pictures of. Now, automotive isn't its only application. If you're a landscape photographer or a videographer, you can easily cut the glares and the reflections out of a river or a lake, for instance. But in this video, I'm going to keep it specific to automotive. Now, in order for me to show you just what it is that you might be leaving on the table, we need to go ahead and shoot a car. So for this video, we're going to go and shoot my Porsche. Let's go. Right, we've just arrived at our location, and I quickly wanted to cover the why. The why would you want to do this? Why would you want to use this method? And for me, this is the closest thing you can get to a studio finish when you're out in the wild with your car. And full disclaimer, I don't claim to have come up with this idea myself. This is something that I learned from someone else and wanted to share it as well, because this is a technique that I've been using for the past couple of years, and I stand by it, I swear by it. I think it's an excellent way to create the cleanest image for your cars. Now, what I'm about to say next is purely for good practice, and I appreciate it's a lot easier said than done. But you want to place the car in a location where it's clutter-free. What do I mean by clutter? Well, don't put it in the heart of your city centre where there's going to be high rises, there's going to be moving traffic, people, cyclists, parked cars, lampposts, bins. Basically anything that's going to reflect off the very reflective surfaces that you're likely to have on your car, unless it's a satin finish, but that's a conversation for another video. So you want to get it somewhere where you don't have a lot of clutter to minimize the reflections. And wherever possible, try and do this on a clear day. So clear blue skies, no clouds. Again, all this is going to do is just put you in good stead to try and get the cleanest possible image. And yes, if you're into automotive, you'll know exactly how hard it is to put your car at a location without getting thrown out by the landowners or wardens or just the general public when you come across a Karen. I digress. Let's get into it. This right here is our subject for the day. My 2013 Porsche Cayenne, powered by a 4.2 litre V8. Another top tip, wherever possible, angle the car or the camera at a 45-degree angle, as in my opinion, that's where polarizers work the best. Now on the screen, I'm going to show you just exactly what it looks like with no polarizer whatsoever, just the lens pointing at your car. And whilst you do that, I'm going to put my Polar Pro polarizer on the end of my 24-70 F2.8. So you can very quickly see the difference between having a polarizer and having no polarizer. Typically what I witness is someone putting their polarizer onto their lens and then rotating it so it cuts through the reflections and the glare off the windscreen and the front of the car, which is fine. That's exactly what it's designed for. But what people tend to leave on the table is that the polarizer can do more than that, because when you continue to turn the polarizer, you can see on the side of the car where there would typically be more reflections, you can actually use it to cut that out too. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate it so it cuts the reflections off the windscreen as well as the front, and snap a picture. And then what we're going to do is continue to turn the polarizer anti-clockwise until we cut the reflections off the side windows and the doors on the side of the car, and snap another picture. Now what I also like to do is, once I've acquired the focus on the car, is to switch autofocus off so it doesn't go hunting when I'm not looking, as well as the in-body image stabilization so the sensor doesn't move around whilst I'm getting these two shots. When you're toning the polarizer, you want to make sure you don't disrupt the positioning to make sure two images are identical as possible, but if it's a little bit out, we can always fix that in post, and I'll show you how a little bit later. Now you're probably thinking, I've taken two different images, how do we merge that into one photo? Well, that's what I'm going to show you next, so let's head back to the office. Right, now that the hard part is done, the next thing we need to do is go ahead and make yourself a cup of tea and or coffee, because finding a location and shooting a car is no easy feat. Unless of course you live in California, in which case everywhere is pretty, and it's, yeah, you know what, I digress. So the next thing we need to do is plug our memory cards into our laptop and or computer and power up Lightroom and Photoshop, because we're going to need these two applications to complete this process. So I've downloaded 3 of these images. The first one being our base photo. This is no polarizer and the car is just as is. Now it doesn't look terrible. I think this is completely usable with a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of tinkering with the exposure and the colors. You've got half a chance of making this photo look pretty good. And that's because we've given ourselves half a chance by not putting the car in an environment where it's too cluttered. So it's not going to require too much editing, it's not going to require too much cleaning up. But if we just zoom in on the windscreen here, we can see a lot of the reflections from the trees, we can see some of the sky, there's like a little blue tinge, we can see my phone holder, which we're going to get rid of, and some reflections on the bonnet. But more notably, just on the side of the car. On the driver's side, there's a bit of reflections caught here from the shrubbery nearby, and on the side windows as well, where we can see the reflections of the trees. So in this exercise, that's what we're going to go ahead and clean up. So we're going to click on our second photo, which is where we've used the polarizer to cut through the reflections on the windscreen and the bonnet. So you can see here, the tree is all but gone, but there's a consistency in the windscreen. It's not picked up too much of the sky or the nearby trees, although the phone holder is still there. Again, we can get rid of that. Again, the bonnet looks a lot cleaner, but on the side, we can still see the reflection from the nearby shrubbery. So this is where we're going to go on to our third photo, and you can see on the side of the door, that's pretty much all gone. Fantastic. And again, there's lots of consistency with the side windows as well. But by doing so, by turning the polarizer further, we've introduced the reflections on the windscreen again. So what we're going to do is we're going to merge these two photos to give us our final composite. So we're going to highlight both of these photos and head on over to Photoshop. Okay, here, what we're going to do is we're going to take photo 1 and we're going to place it on photo 2. Okay, so if I just zoom out a little bit, so to the best of our ability, we're going to try and line these two images up. Now, if in the quite likely event the camera, has moved a little bit, we're going to find a way to align these two photos as well. So if I switch photo 1 off and on, you can see there's a bit of a shift between the two photos. So the way we overcome this is we're going to highlight both photos, head on over to edit and auto align layers. Hit OK, and the computer's going to do some jiggery pokery to make sure the photos are perfectly aligned. So we're just going to put that to the test by switching off 1, and there we go. You can see both the pictures sitting very nicely on top of each other. Okay, so what I want to do is the second image where we've cut the reflections off the side of the car, I want that to be on top. So, okay, let me rephrase that. The photo where the reflections on the side of the car is the photo that I want to use as our primary photo. And the reason for that is because the polarizer has actually done a really good job at cutting out some of the reflections and the glare from the leaves, leaving us with a green that's a little bit more saturated, a little bit more vibrant, which is another use case for the polarizer. You can see just here in the second picture, the greens look a lot more vibrant. So I'm going to leave that at the bottom. Okay, so the picture that you want as your primary picture, we're going to change the position with our layers. So that's going to be at the bottom. So that's going to be layer 1. and then the second picture is going to remain on top, and it will start to make sense as we continue with this process. So now we're going to highlight the second layer, so the layer on top, and then hit our layer mask tool, and then hit Command and I, which is invert. It might be slightly different on Windows, so Command and I, and that's going to invert it so the picture that we see is the picture that we want. And you can see here now where it's aligned a little bit, it's a little bit out of kilter, so that's fine. We can fix that in Lightroom a little bit later. And then we're going to head over to our brush tool, make sure white is selected, and then over here you can see we've got the black mask. So what we're going to do now is we're going to zoom into our photo, and using our brush tool we're going to go ahead and start coloring in or out, depending on which way you look at it. I think that made sense. I hope that made sense. But as we color it in, you can start to see the reflections disappearing like magic. There we go. If we just do the bonnet, and don't worry, this doesn't have to be like super accurate. I can show you ways in which to tidy it up later on. But if we just do a rough coloring in, here we go, zoom out a little bit more so you can see. You can see just here where I've gone a little bit over to this side, which we don't want. So if you have colored outside the lines, for example, all you need to do is switch back to the black just down here, and then color in this bit so you can bring it back in. Then we're going to go back to white, make sure we've covered our headlights, the front bumper, front number plate, and just around the sides here. Now if you find yourself coloring in areas and it's not the look that you want, so again we can go back to black and just color these bits back in again. Okay, let's just make sure it's all good around here, and that all looks consistent. And there we are. The car is well, not completely, but I'd say that's a 90% reduction in the reflections that we see on the body panels, which is great. So we're going to do some tidying up now. So I'm going to merge these layers into one by hitting Shift, Command and E. I'm going to head over to our spot healing brush tool to get rid of this phone holder in my window. So just paint over that, and there you go. Again, this is very rough, just to show you guys exactly my process. And then if you really wanted to, you can generative AI your number plate out. Just going to draw a little square around it, hit generative fill, generate, and let's see without any commands what kind of job it does. Yeah, what does that look like? See the variations, and that looks a little better. Yeah, we can keep it like that to just make the car look a bit more stealth. Excellent. So if we zoom out, there's our final composite. So now what we're going to do is we're going to save this, close this window so it goes back to Lightroom, and here we are. Now you're going to have this white border where the picture shifted a little bit, we know, so we're just going to hit the crop tool and just get rid of those. And that looks good. Let's make sure it's perfectly straight. Yep, hit our enter button, and there we go. And now world's your oyster. So I'm going to take some of the yellow out the greenery, so the greens are a little bit more green, if that makes sense. Head over to green, darken it a little bit, let's turn down the luminance, and then I'm going to turn down the highlights a little, increase contrast, decrease the blacks, decrease some of the shadow. We just see a little bit more of the car. And then I'm just going to scroll down, increase the clarity a little bit, increase the dehaze. There we go. And then if you wanted to draw the eyes a little bit more towards the car, what we can do is create a linear gradient. So we're just going to create a mask from the bottom upwards, and then we're going to just decrease the exposure so that it's going to darken our foreground a little bit, the floor, to draw our eyes a little bit more towards the car. Yeah, that should do it. So look at that. I might just warm the temperature up a little bit as well, just a touch, to make it feel like a rainforest. And yeah, there we go. Should we increase some of the green tint as well? Yeah, that looks good. Maybe desaturate the greens a touch. And there's our final photo. Have I mentioned that I'm on a golf course? So at any given second, a stray ball can hit me, my cameras, or my car. So the risk I've taken to bring you this video, guys, it should shouldn't go unnoticed. So if you want to hit that subscribe button now, thank you. If you guys want to find out more about my V8 powered Porker over there, I do have my own automotive YouTube channel. I'll link it up on the screen now for you. Don't forget to subscribe to that one as well, and I'll see you guys in the next one.